Hey everybody, we're back and we are talking about the full moon today happening on Halloween. I know the week already has been a wild ride of a lot of different types of energy. So Lori, tell us what's been going on, what can we expect from this full moon that really feels like the energy's been building.
Yeah, it really is building. And so, yeah, we thought we'd just hop on here for just a short minute and tell everybody what the energy of the full moon is going to be for this weekend. So, as you said, it's going to be the Halloween, October 31st at 9:49 a.m. is when it's going to be exactly full. So really, the energy's already building up to it, and it'll be a little bit before that, a little bit after that. So, which is the way I look at it. This is a special full moon for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the second full moon of October. So October was first we had a full moon, and the last day we have a full moon, and that is called a blue moon. It's not blue. And I wish I knew where that came from. I don't know. But anyway, it's called a blue moon when there's two full moons in a month, and it has to be, like a month with 30 or 31 days when that happens. So anyway, this particular full moon is also on Halloween, which, there's a lot of energy. The veil is very thin between this plane and the other plane, and a lot of sensitive people have a lot of experiences during that time. So a full moon is shines a light on things. It also shines a light on things that need to be uncovered. So that's kind of some of what a full moon does. And actually, a full moon, for those of you who are curious or want to know, the moon doesn't have any light of its own. It reflects the light of the sun. So the full moon, and you can think about it this way, the full moon happens when the sun and the moon are exactly opposite of each other. So, when the sun and the moon are, perpendicular, forming a square or an angle, that's when there's a quarter moon, because the moon can only see a quarter of the sun's light.
Okay.
So as it moves around, that's why you have the different phases of the moon where it grows, where it's waxing and waning. So anyway, the full moon is when it is exactly opposite the sun and reflecting all of the sun's light. So what that means is the sun, so we know we're in Scorpio season, so the sun's in Scorpio. So the polarity of Scorpio is Taurus. So this is actually a Taurus full moon. It's not a Scorpio full moon. It's a Taurus full moon. So that axis is really interesting because, what does Scorpio want? Scorpio wants spiritual growth, and how does Scorpio achieve that? It digs deep. Yeah. So it wants you to dig deep, face the limitations, and for a good reason, not just, it can be painful, but not for the pain, but just for growth. I mean,
Right.
It's an evolutionary process. But Taurus, on the other side, Taurus is the earth grounding. It's grounded, it's deliberate. Taurus wants stability. Taurus wants, Taurus is in it for the long haul. So yeah, so we have the two, the moon in Taurus across the opposite of the sun in Scorpio. So that's what the moon is asking, Scorpio's wanting the spiritual growth, and Taurus is wanting to be grounded. And so that's the dynamic for this full moon. Now, one of the most interesting things about this full moon is that it is the moon is conjunct, which means it's next to Uranus. So this full moon has a very Uranian flavor.
Okay.
And Uranus is about revolution, change, breaking things, break down in order to break through, to level up. So we're going to see a lot of, and actually Uranus stays in a sign for 7 years. So it's going to be in Taurus until 2026. And so we're going to see a lot of those Uranian themes come out, social revolution, that sort of thing. And, as a result of all that, we're going to have new, new ways of doing things. And also the other thing about Uranus and Taurus is that, we may see a lot of Uranus and Taurus is about also surprises. We may see this full moon, we may have some sudden shocking information that comes out, or sudden shocks. And even because it's an earth sign, it could be earthquakes. I mean, literally, it could be shocks to the earth. So volcanoes erupting and things like that. But I think, especially being a full moon and having that energy, along with it, we may see some very interesting things come up this weekend around this full moon with Uranus right there.
So does the energy of the full moon and all the potency that you just described, is that only within this 24-hour window of the full moon, or is it likely going to spill over into next week with some potential things that might be happening?
You know what? It could be the trigger, certainly. And that's the interesting thing about astrology. And that's why I think it's important to keep a diary, even if it's bullet points, about the what you personally experience during some of these things, like full moons or new moons, or different astrological aspects that we've talked about this year. Just bullet point, like what happened that day, or what was triggered that day for you.
Yeah,
and you might see the energy is definitely, around the full moon is going to be, it's not going to be a week-long thing. Okay. However, it may trigger a theme that you may see play out.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? I mean, that has happened for me before. And so, yeah. And then we have another aspect that I think is interesting and also important. We have Chiron, which is where you're wounded, where you can heal, and then subsequently where you can be of service and healing to others. So you kind of have to know where Chiron is in your chart to know exactly how that might be true for you. But Chiron is making an opposition to Venus. So it's very, very close opposition. So to me, this full moon may also be an opportunity for healing. Look at what needs healing in your life, and what needs healing in your life may be dug up by that sun in Scorpio.
I see. Yep. I can see how all those pieces come together.
Yeah. So just notice what comes forward for you. And if you know where that is in your chart, and like the house placement, it can kind of, bring down to earth where that might be in your life. Is it going to be in your career? Is it going to be, with your family, with your children, with your siblings? So yeah, I think there's a lot of energy, but also I see some great opportunity. But look for some surprises, something that might come out.
Great, I'll get the popcorn. So I think that's really helpful to hear. And I know in the earlier video we did around the new moons, we talked about rituals and intention setting. And I think with full moons, it's all about release and letting go of what you don't want to bring into this next cycle. So specifically around the energies that you just described, are there things that we could be doing to either make the most of this energy or more easily navigate through it?
Yeah, I mean, ceremony and ritual is a very personal thing, but I would say anything that you do that helps you release whatever is coming up. So you can you can release it through meditation. You can something that I've done before in the past, and we talked about this because I think we've both done it, is just actually writing it on a piece of paper and just, very intentionally, and burning that piece of paper. And then I like to take the ashes, and especially with this Taurus moon, maybe put them in the earth, and, bury it so that you've released it back to the earth to mulch, and, it will help something new grow, right? I mean, that is almost fertilizer for something new to come forward. It's the way I think about it when I do that.
I like that idea.
And so what would you say about essential oils that you can use, and how would you use them?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. And I think the grounding element is really important. Black spruce comes to mind. It's really good helping you connect with ancestors and anything around your root chakra. And if fear comes up, it's a really good stabilizing oil. And cedarwood also, which I know you really like working with, is a good one as well. Just to really kind of remind you of, it's like your inner stability, your like the inner scaffolding, your tree nature really, and getting that grounding benefit. And then the other thing, crystals wise, I'm curious your thoughts, because one of the things I've done before around like a letting go ritual is kind of programming an intention in a crystal and releasing it back to the earth, or I've dropped it in a lake before. So is that something that you would consider? Like, what crystals would you recommend working with?
Absolutely. I mean, you can, if you want, there's a couple of things. If you want a crystal to absorb the intention that you're trying to release, then I would meditate or set intention, sort of in a meditative state or whatever, with some crystals that are, absorb that kind of thing, which would be black onyx, the black one, black tourmaline,
Okay.
onyx, and obsidian. Those are the three.
Right.
And they're pretty easy to come by if you have a crystal shop in your town. It's not something that, you could probably come, across one of those. If you find pyrite does not absorb, it reflects. So if you need something deflected away from you, then that's when you would use pyrite. But it's kind of black. So if you see that, not exactly the same thing. And then hematite, the same thing. So I would stick with those other three. Or if you want to, program a crystal that you're going to bury or, throw in the lake or whatever, I would just use a clear quartz. Those are very easy to come by. They're easy to program. Yeah, they're just like they're the, most utilitarian crystal. I think you can use them for so many things. You can use them to clear other crystals. So yeah, and they don't ever have to be charged. So they're self-cleaning crystals.
Interesting. And actually, that's a really good point. So around clearing and charging, because I've also, put crystals on the windowsill and in the moonlight to be charged. But I know you've mentioned before that it's important to make sure that the crystal is clear before it's charged. So if anybody is doing one of these rituals, working with crystals, would you recommend making sure they're cleared first? They need to be charged by the moonlight. Like, what's the best way to use that?
Yeah, you can. I have put crystals out that, I didn't necessarily clear first, because I was just, the full moon would clear it and charge it,
Okay.
depending on what the crystal is. You don't, like I said, you don't have to put, and I'm sorry, I said quartz, but that's selenite. Selenite is the self-cleaning crystal, and you can clear, if you have like a selenite wand, and I do have one, but I don't have it here, you can actually clear your crystals with the selenite.
Okay.
And then put them out in the moon. Just wave the selenite over it. And I have I also have a selenite point. So,
nice.
So sorry. Go back to the clear quartz. That doesn't clear, but you can program it, and it is very easily programmable. But selenite is self-clearing, and you can use it to clear other crystals as well. That's what I do. There's lots of there's a lot of people who work with crystals do. There's so many different ways. There's really no wrong way or right way, unless, selenite and water will melt it. You don't want to do that. But, so yeah, just whatever resonates with you and works with you.
All right. Well, lots of options. So hopefully everybody has a fun Halloween and, enjoys the bright light of this full moon that will be quite interesting for all of us to experience, it sounds like.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know if you do any of these rituals. Let us know how it goes. And happy Halloween, happy full moon, and we will talk to you all soon.
Bye,
Bye for
everybody.
now.